Let's position ourselves inside a building designed like a fortress, covered by thousands of high-definition cameras that can zoom in on any spot in the room. A place where every movement, every glance, and every breath is analyzed by artificial intelligence and by an army of ex-cops watching monitors 24 hours a day. That place is a modern casino. We've been taught that the eye in the sky is God, that it sees everything, that you cannot hide from it. But what if I told you that in 2013, a man didn't hide from the cameras? What if I told you he did something much bolder, something no one believed possible? Not only did he not avoid the cameras, but he managed to connect to them. This is the story of how a mysterious foreign gambler walked into the Crown Casino in Melbourne, one of the most luxurious and protected places in the world, and in a matter of a few hours won $32 million. He didn't do it by counting cards. He didn't mark the deck. He wasn't lucky. What he had was an invisible accomplice who had hacked the casino's own security system. They were using the casino's cameras to spy on the house's cards. It was a real-life Ocean's 11 heist, but executed with a laptop and a tiny earpiece. Today, I will explain how the world's most expensive security system became the murder weapon that allowed the theft of $32 million. To understand the magnitude of this robbery, we have to travel to Australia, to the Crown Casino in Melbourne. It's not just a casino, it's a city-state. It is the largest gambling complex in the Southern Hemisphere. It has 5-star hotels, restaurants by famous chefs, luxury shops, and in its armored heart, the VIP rooms. Tourists in flip-flops don't enter there. Asian billionaires, oil tycoons, and celebrities enter there. There, minimum bets are a normal person's annual salary. In the casino world, these players are called whales, and casinos love whales. They court them, they send them private jets, they give them presidential suites, because they know that statistically, the whale always loses. Their ego is bigger than their mathematical brain. So, when a man whose identity has been protected under the pseudonym The Foreign Player contacted the Crown saying he wanted to play big, the casino rolled out the red carpet. No one suspected a thing. He seemed like the typical eccentric millionaire. He wore designer clothes, was arrogant, drank imported water. He stayed at the Crown Towers, the jewel of the complex. He said he wanted to play cards, probably baccarat or high-limit blackjack. The casino rubbed its hands together. They prepared the private table, assigned their best dealers, put a pit manager dedicated only to him. Everything was ready for the usual show. The rich guy loses, the casino wins, everyone smiles and gives him a consolation bottle of champagne. But when the peculiar player sat at the table, something changed in the air. The game began. At first, everything seemed normal. He won some hands, lost others. He was warming up the table. But then the rhythm changed. The player started betting obscene amounts. Not thousands, hundreds of thousands per hand. And he started winning. One hand, $200,000. Another hand, $300,000. Another hand, $500,000. Dealers are professionals. They're trained not to show emotion, but when you see the house stack shrinking and the player's stack growing until it blocks his view, you start to sweat. The pit manager approached. He watched. He wondered if he was cheating. He looked at his hands. They were clean. He didn't touch the cards strangely. He looked at his eyes. He didn't seem to be counting cards. In fact, the game was too fast. A card counter needs to think, needs to calculate. This guy played with supernatural speed. He made hit or stand decisions in a fraction of a second, and they were always correct. In the security room, in the casino basement, the monitors glowed. The surveillance team, the famous Eye in the Sky, was bored. For them, it was just another night watching a rich guy get lucky. They saw the video feed of the VIP table. They saw the dealer deal. They saw the cards come out of the shoe. Everything looked legal. But what security didn't know, what they couldn't even imagine in their worst nightmares, is that they weren't the only ones watching that video feed. Here is where the criminal genius comes in. Weeks before, or perhaps months, someone had penetrated the casino network. We don't know if it was an external hacker who broke the firewall, or if it was an inside job, a corrupt maintenance tech who connected a cable where he shouldn't have. The most accepted theory is the inside job. Someone with physical access to the cameras in the VIP room had tapped the signal. The high-definition security camera pointing directly at the table had an IP function. It was connected to the network. The player's accomplice, sitting perhaps in a van in the parking lot, or in a hotel room across town, or even in another country, had real-time access to that camera. Imagine the scene from the accomplice's perspective. You have a monitor in front of you. You're seeing the table with crystal clarity, better than the player himself. You see the dealer shuffle, you see the dealer draw the card, and thanks to the camera angle and the high resolution, you can see the value of the card milliseconds before the player has to make a decision. Or you can even see the dealer's cards if he lifts them slightly. The accomplice saw the card. It's a king. Immediately, he whispered into a microphone. In the VIP room, the player wore an earpiece. Not one of those white Apple ones, a spy device, tiny, the size of a grain of rice, inserted deep into his ear canal, flesh-colored, invisible to the naked eye. The player listened and acted. It was the perfect crime. They were using the casino's own security infrastructure, which cost millions of dollars to rob them. The cameras that were there to protect the money had become the thief's eyes. The winning streak continued. 1 hour, 2 hours. The figure climbed. 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. The atmosphere in the VIP room shifted from tension to absolute panic. The room manager called the executive floor. "Sir, we have a problem. The whale is killing us. He's up 32 million, and he doesn't miss. He never misses." 32 million Australian dollars. It is an amount that affects the company's stock price. It's a crisis for the casino. The Crown executives gave the order. Review the tapes, now. Look for anything. Look for a mark on the cards. Look for a partner. Look for a mirror on his ring. An elite team of security experts locked themselves in the monitor room. They started analyzing the player's game frame by frame. They looked for betting patterns, and they realized something terrifying. His game made no conventional mathematical sense. He made plays no professional would make, unless he knew exactly what card was coming next. In one hand, he hit on a hard 19 against a dealer's 10. That's suicide. It's impossible, unless you know the next card is a 2. And he got a 2. "He knows the cards," said the head of security. "He isn't counting them, he's seeing them." But how? He wasn't wearing reflective sunglasses, there were no mirrors. Then, someone on the security team, perhaps a network technician smarter than average, decided not to look at the player, but at the system. They reviewed the security camera access logs, the digital logs. And there it was, the digital fingerprint of the ghost. They saw that the camera pointing at the VIP table had an outbound data stream. Someone else was connected to that camera. Someone was streaming the signal to an unknown IP address. The silence in the control room must have been tomb-like. They looked at each other in horror. We've been hacked. They're seeing what we see. Suddenly, everything made sense. The player's speed, the precision with which he played, the arrogance. He wasn't playing against the house, he was playing with the cards face up. The order was immediate. Cut the signal. Intercept the player. In the VIP room, the player's luck ran out in an instant, but not because of the cards. The door burst open. Half a dozen security guards the size of wardrobes entered, accompanied by executives with funeral faces. "Sir, the game is over. Please, come with us." The player must have felt the chill down his spine. He knew the moment had come. He tried to maintain composure. "What's wrong? I'm on a streak. Don't you have the money to pay me?" He tried to play the offense card. But the guards weren't joking. They took him to a private room, a windowless, luxurious room designed for interrogations. There, the atmosphere changed. He was no longer the VIP client. He was the suspect. They searched him, and they found the earpiece, or perhaps they simply presented him with the evidence of the hack. "We know what you were doing. We know you have help." Here is where the story has an interesting legal twist. Crown Casino is in Australia. The laws are different. The casino had the player, but the money is a complicated issue. 32 million. Crown Casino made a brutal executive decision. They didn't call the police immediately to create a media spectacle. They wanted to contain the damage. They didn't want the world to know that their security, the famous Crown security, was vulnerable. If word got out that you can hack Crown's cameras, investor and other players' confidence would plummet. So they made a deal, or rather, imposed a sentence. They told the player, "You leave, right now. You are banned for life, and the money stays here." The player, knowing he had been caught red-handed and that the alternative was an Australian prison for massive cyber fraud, likely accepted. He was escorted out of the building, he returned to his hotel, packed his bags, and disappeared into the night, leaving behind the biggest streak in history, a streak that was never real. But the story couldn't be contained. It leaked. Rumors started running through the gambling world. Did you hear about the Crown? Did you hear about the 32 million? Finally, the casino had to issue a brief statement confirming there had been a security breach and that the money had been recovered almost entirely. The scandal shook the global industry. Casinos in Las Vegas, Macau, Monaco, everyone panicked. They started auditing their cameras. They started disconnecting their security systems from the internet. They realized they had committed the classic error of the digital age. By connecting everything to the network to make it more efficient, they had made it vulnerable. The irony of this story is the role reversal. For decades, casinos have used technology to catch cheaters. They've used facial recognition, RFID chips and tokens, behavior analysis software. They felt invincible behind their digital walls. But this team of scammers proved that technology is a double-edged sword. They proved that the eye in the sky can be blinded, or worse, can be forced to look where it shouldn't. They used the casino's own paranoia against it. It is suspected that the accomplice, the man or woman watching the monitors, was an insider, someone from the surveillance team who was bribed or coerced. It is much easier to connect a physical cable to a server than to break encryption from the outside. The Crown fired several security employees shortly after the incident, although they never officially confirmed why. The foreign player returned to his country, his identity protected by the casino's desire to forget the matter. He didn't take the 32 million, but he took something else, the legend. He became the man who hacked the house. For us, this story is a fascinating reminder that perfect security does not exist. You can build concrete walls, you can place armed guards, you can install the most expensive software in the world, but there will always be a back door. There will always be a loose wire. There will always be a corruptible human. The Crown Casino heist was the end of innocence for modern security. It taught us that in the hyper-connected world, your own surveillance camera can be your worst enemy. The next time you walk into a casino or a bank, or even when you look at your own computer's webcam, remember this story. Remember that a lens has no loyalty. A camera only captures light, and whoever controls that light controls the truth. The Crown got its money back, the player got his freedom. But that night in Melbourne, something broke forever in the gambling industry, the sense of control. They realized that sometimes when you stare into the abyss through a security camera, the abyss is staring back at you, and it's stealing your wallet. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far and liked the video, please subscribe and hit like. It would help me a ton. See you in the next video.